It's the Score North Twin Show.
Twins on the grid. We got the Twins on the Immaculate Grid, boys. Breaking news.
How God meant it.
And it involves wins above replacement as a category today, which is not like not a back of the baseball card stat, and there's no way to like
the thinking
really
fan
know for sure. But
the thinking fan.
But
so
Brian Kenny says, right? For MLB Now, that's the show for the thinking fan.
Yeah.
I think that's what he says. So yeah, same thing with
He'd
WAR.
be a little condescending sometimes with his.
A little. Yeah, he's definitely condescending.
He used to just fight with people on Twitter about stats and WAR and
The
all that
Shredder.
stuff. So toward the end of the episode, we are going to do a grid, and we need Twins players, and there's some other franchises too, that had a 6 wins above replacement season. So be thinking about it's in the RBI category. It's easy to remember, like, oh, that one year that Delvin Young drove in 100, right? Like it's back of the baseball card. For wins above replacement, it values obviously huge productivity, but also positional value. So like catchers have higher WAR, compared to first baseman. So catchers, shortstops, pitchers,
like Tim
center
Lauder
fielders,
starting pitchers.
Yeah, starting pitchers. Lodge played catcher, but but the productivity part is.
I don't know about that.
He was an All-Star though, 1988.
He was.
All-Star.
He was at Riverfront Stadium.
Let's just react to the Shohei Ohtani contract here. Couple questions. Your guys' thoughts on the historic $700 million, largely deferred for 10 years contract that Shohei Ohtani signed. So he signs this contract with the Dodgers. He's going to make $2 million a year for 10 years.
Yeah.
Because he's making so much money in like endorsements and outside baseball money.
Right.
And that will allow the Dodgers a ton of payroll flexibility in the next 10 years, luxury tax evasion or avoidance, and then they'll be on the hook for the 10 years after the contract for like $680 million of the $700 million.
Right.
Should the Polads have been thinking more creatively like this? Shohei, we'll defer it. We'll defer as much money as you want 20 years from now.
So I think, and I know that baseball fans, and I don't even blame them, and a lot of people are very upset about this, right? Because it's like, well, the Dodgers aren't going to have to pay the luxury tax, at least when they should be, and this seems like a real rope-a-dope. And, Jeff Passan of ESPN comes out with the immediate tweet, which basically says, hey, you might be upset. Ain't nothing you can do about this. But
yeah,
I think this contract is, and I think the entire situation is, it's almost like a college class because there's so many tentacles to it that I find to be intriguing. One is, I don't think Shohei Ohtani this whole time was going anywhere but the Dodgers. The whole thing on Friday, which was what JP Morosi and somebody before him, I forget, they got it leaked. Hey, Shohei's we think he's on a private jet from John Wayne in Orange County to Toronto, which ended up being the Shark Tank dude, which is hilariously funny. But but supposedly, and I buy this, what the Ohtani camp did was they leaked this purposely because the Dodgers didn't know. And so the Dodgers are like, oh my God. And I think the whole thing is that this was a rigged game. And again, you can't not, like, there's nothing you can do to stop this. But I think Ohtani was going to the Dodgers the entire time. I think that's where they wanted to plant him. So like this whole, well, the Cubs are involved. They were all pawns. And the Dodgers finally caved. And I'm guessing that the Dodgers then said, okay, we'll go up to what you want, but we're going to get creative too. And they got incredibly creative. But I think there's two sides from the Dodger standpoint. And I think that the most important side to this entire agreement is a business deal, not a baseball deal. And what this does is this takes the Dodgers, and they already were, so I'm not implying that this is going to be their first foray, but this takes them into Japan. This takes them into foreign countries, right? With merchandise sales. And so I think that this is the most important thing is the Dodgers are going to, in their minds, and they're probably right, recoup this contract through the business dealings, not even baseball. Yeah. And then I think the least important thing at the end of the day is the baseball deal, which on the surface to me does not make a ton of sense because he's a DH. We don't know when he's going to pitch again. Yes, he's a premier player. But with what you're potentially getting, this contract from just a pure baseball sense to me, you guys, wouldn't make sense, but it makes a ton of sense as a business contract. So like for all we're getting upset about this, again, I think this could be an entire class on the Shohei Ohtani situation, which to me goes way beyond what transpires on the baseball field.
Also, not that the Twins had any shot whatsoever at Shohei Ohtani. Like, that was not a conversation. But according to Doogie, they were very much in the mix on the initial bidding, like when he was coming over from Japan and the price was more reasonable.
Posting fee at the time, right?
Yep.
That started with a posting fee? Okay.
Yep. But I think what you're seeing now is all these teams like the Twins that don't have an ownership stake in their TV partnership, which about half the league is just like at the mercy of. They don't own their own TV rights, their own network. There's a handful, like the Padres. Now that might have gotten blown up. I think the Padres TV, but the Padres had negotiated like part ownership in theirs. But right now, specifically with half the league trying to figure out where their local TV revenue is coming in, and then you get franchises like the Yankees and the Dodgers that own large chunks of their networks, and they're bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. The gap between what teams like the Dodgers can do financially compared to teams like the Twins, I don't know that it's been wider. Like the Twins are literally sitting here. There's been on MLBTradeRumors.com, there's been 2 Twins posts in like 10 days. Nothing to do with free agency because they're not going to spend in free agency unless the prices come way down to the point where like in January, February. So my biggest takeaway is great for the Dodgers. I actually don't have any problem with it. I do think this has to spark a conversation about creating some contract structure at some point to make the offseason more exciting and also just to like not avoid luxury tax for 10 years like the Dodgers are going to. They're going to reap the benefits of one of the best players in the history of the game while not having to pay luxury tax back to the league. And teams like, the Rays and the A's, these teams at the bottom of the payroll structure and the revenue structure, they rely on teams like the Dodgers to subsidize them to some extent with that luxury tax. So it opens up a bunch of conversations. I think it also opens up just like more of a gap between teams like the Dodgers and the Twins for what they can do to bring players in.
So I think this contract is complete BS. I think it's horrible for baseball. I think it makes this sport already more complicated for the common fan. And the Dodgers were already the favorite to get Ohtani. And now they're going to shove 97% of this money into the future to avoid the luxury tax and avoid paying and all this stuff. And I think it's dumb. And for also baseball writers to come out and say before the Ohtani contract that we're failing baseball fans as members of baseball media, and then to shove a clause to say, actually, you can do this, you don't know about this, I think it's a horrible look. I think it's an absolute horrible look for baseball, and it's embarrassing, and this sport needs to get in better gracious with the common fan. And how come this is the only real sport where the TV payroll is so tied into what a team can do that no one knows what the free agency plans are for a lot of these teams? Like the Twins are just sitting here with their arms crossed, waiting for trades to happen or waiting for prices to come down. Meanwhile, the best team with one of the most financial resources just signed a guy to $700 million. Actually, we're only going to pay him $2 million per season and shove 98% of that money into the future. I think it's a horrible look for baseball. I think it's really dumb.
Yeah, I think it's definitely complicated, and I think fans like structure with this stuff because, and I think baseball needs to have some structure with this stuff so that it can be more entertaining and easier to follow, right? Like in the NBA, max contract, it's very easy to sit around and just know exactly what the contracts are. In football, okay, there's a salary cap and the top quarterbacks make $50 million. And so we know like what a $50 million quarterback versus a $10 million quarterback. Oh, we can use the extra $40 million on this. Like it's a puzzle, right? In baseball, there is no puzzle. And then if there kind of is a puzzle, then teams can take it now and be like, oh, we're going to actually play part of that puzzle like in 10 years from now. So I agree with Declan that it makes it more confusing. It just disconnects it from the average fan that they're trying to get to be hooked on their product. It is within the rules. So from that standpoint, I would say, listen, okay, players and owners, if you don't like it, media, if you don't like it, make some noise, and in 3 years from now, when everyone gets back at the collective bargaining table, then maybe they can put some more structure around some of this stuff. But the Dodgers did not break any rules. Shohei Ohtani, by the way, was comfortable enough saying, I don't need this money right now. I'd rather win a bunch of games and help the team, so pay me in 10 years. Not every player would be willing to do that. It's a risk, right? Like, what if he never pitches again? He's not – I don't know. I think it's bad for baseball in some ways, but at the same time, it's not against the rules. So the Dodgers didn't do anything wrong.
Well, and he's making so much per year on endorsements, which most guys in baseball don't have, that he's fine. But the thing about it is, Dax, the problem is this, and I feel like and it's not surprising, there's a recency bias towards obsessing about the Ohtani contract. But I mean, if you look at baseball's offseason and structure, it is messed up as a whole. Like this is exploiting a problem. But to go back to what we talked about the last 2 weeks, with no salary cap, which, by the way, you would have at this point on time a lockout that would probably last a year plus if you tried to implement a cap, which, by the way, I'd love to see. I think caps are good for fans because it presents an understandable parameter to contracts.
Yeah.
But, in 2026, if baseball comes back and says we are going to do a cap, you're looking at a prolonged time with no baseball. Like, that is a non-starter. And despite the fact that it would provide a floor and a ceiling, the Players Association does not care about the floor. So, like, they don't care. If the Pirates are like, we're going to keep our payroll at something ridiculously low, they're like, that's fine.
Because there's 29 other teams that are going to spend money.
Exactly. And now the TV thing provides an even bigger problem. But I honestly think, you guys, that the solution here, and I'm not naive enough to think that this is going to take place, but I think the solution here starts internally. I don't think it starts with the players. I think it starts with the fact that it is ridiculous, in my opinion, that there are so many haves and now a ton of have-nots on TV. The revenue. I mean, they only split one thing, the national income, and then there's the luxury tax. But the reality is this: the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, they are raking in the dough. And that's not good for the sport. What would be good for the sport would be to somehow find a way to split that pie up. But my God, there's just... From a business standpoint, you guys, there's so many problems here. Well, and trying to solve them is almost going to be impossible because I don't know who's going to agree on what.
And let's just forget about the structure of the contract. The fact that the Dodgers are confident that over the next 20 years, they can pretty safely pay for this, whether it's now or later, they can afford $750 million of a contract of just one player. And part of that's because, and this is according to the latest data that was researched by Fangraphs across all 30 teams, how much money. This isn't open knowledge. Reporters have to go in and pry open the books and find sources to figure out how much are teams making off of their TV revenue. At last check, this is 2020, the Dodgers were making per year almost $250 million a year off of their local TV deal, which they own 50% of the network. I think is it Sportsnet LA?
Yeah,
I want to say
like that.
So $250 million.
Yep.
The Twins at last report were right around $53 million or something, right? $55 million.
55, I think, yeah.
So in local TV revenue alone, this does not count the fact that a Los Angeles-based team, the Dodgers, with a much wider reach of popularity, rakes in merchandise money hand over fist, more than the Twins do. Sponsorship, stadium, all the population in LA, all that stuff, that's all considered local revenue. Local TV, local merchandise, local, you name it, right? Local, even local ticket sales. More expensive to go to a Dodgers game than it is to go to a Twins game.
Yep.
So why would the Dodgers, if approached by Major League Baseball or the players or the commissioner, say, hey, we got to even the scale here a little bit, man. We can't have this type of gap financially. Why would the Dodgers are saying, well, wait a second, we are the ones with our brand and our product bringing in all. Why should we have to give more of the money that we earn to the Twins or the Rays or the A's or some of these poverty franchises, the Royals, right? Mm-hmm. So at its core, in the NFL, yes, the New York Giants are worth more money than the Buffalo Bills because of market size and history and visibility, right? But the product is on national TV at a much bigger level, audience, interest, everything. And so in the NFL and even in the NBA, a much, much, much larger percentage of the league's revenue is shared across all the teams because it's national TV deals. Baseball, the national TV deals are peanuts compared to some of the other leagues because nobody watches. Nobody watches Sunday Night Baseball anymore. And so, like, it's a locally driven sport. And when you've got half the league without a local TV deal, which is a huge chunk of their revenue, and then you got teams like the Dodgers that are already huge, bringing in $250 million a year in TV revenue, this is what happens. They get access to Shohei Ohtani, and then they get creative with the contract, and now they're probably going to get somebody else because they've got a ton of room financially. Josh
Hader, I guess, and they also might get the other Japanese pitcher who's going to come over. So yes, no, you're right. But here's the thing with baseball though, because this is not good for fans. Like what's going on is not good for fans. The thing with baseball is they took some really positive steps, I felt, in the past year to solve on-field problems, right? The shift got banned. Like they improved the game. I don't think there's any question about it. No matter what you thought going in, the game itself was far more pleasing to watch in 2023 than 2022. They now need to take as long and hard of a look at fixing, and it's going to be tougher because it's business decisions, at fixing not just the structured contracts, but what we've talked about, the entire offseason.
Yep. And I know that there's frustrated Twins fans. Well, wait a second. The Pohlad family is worth several $1 billion, whatever. Well, I don't know all the finances in terms of like the personal finances for the Dodgers' current ownership group, but they're not spending $700 million of their net worth. They're spending the money based on the revenue the Dodgers are bringing in baseball's current economic system. And that's why they're not taking a huge loss to sign Shohei Ohtani. You know?
No, in fact, they're
clearly not
money.
in the next 10 years. They're not.
And they're going to make off this. But the team that actually to watch now, and they're not comparable to the Twins because the Dallas-Fort Worth market is far bigger than Minneapolis-St. Paul, but the Rangers are. So Bally's in Texas, Bally's has bailed on the contract. And I already saw a story that the Rangers were hoping to bring Jordan Montgomery back, who they got from the Cardinals, and played a key role in their World Series championship. And basically have said, we can't do it now because we don't have. And so if you look at their payroll, though, if the Texas Rangers are sincerely like, oh, my God, we're in some trouble here, look at the guys that they have signed. I mean, they got some big contracts.
They might bail.
If they start to dump, that's going to make the Twins' problems look small because that's a team that basically, to a large degree, Texas did a hell of a job of buying a World Series title. But I don't know that they can keep those guys.
They did.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating for baseball just because it's the only sport where we have like these weird financial rules that no one understands with when it comes to TV deals, when it comes to arbitration, when it comes to service time. Like it's the only sport of the four men's major sports that is, I don't think that any common fan can really understand how this works. Well, you get, if you're called up before June 1st, it doesn't tick on your service time, but if you finish as first or second rookie of the year, it does go on to service time. It's just the financial part of Major League Baseball needs a complete change, complete overhaul.
And if you're the Dodgers, you're like, no, it doesn't.
No, right.
Yeah. If you're the Yankees, you're like, no, it doesn't.
Hey, we're good.
That's the problem. So, there is Twins news here to get to from a couple days ago. From The Athletic, it's big winter meetings, a lot of stuff buzzing. It's big Twins news here.
What's the excitement?
No. Hot stove heating up here.
Oh, I'm cold.
The Twins last week received what is becoming a frequent reminder that their minor league pitching development program is performing well.
Oh, boy.
When the Red Sox poached their minor league pitching coordinator, Justin Willard, and added him to the Red Sox big league staff. The Twins minor league pitching coordinator since January 2021. Willard is the third high-profile minor league coach hired by an outside organization in the past 3 years. So that's the biggest Twins news of. I think that came out like midweek.
Full
even
disclosure,
last week. We didn't get to it.
Full disclosure, I had never heard of him until I read that.
Well, that sounds like more of a you problem. He's done a good job. Clearly, the Twins.
No,
pitching
I know. No, I'm just saying I hadn't heard of him. No, that's why I said full disclosure. I'm not blaming anybody but myself. But I'm just saying I'd never even heard of him.
Yeah,
it's like when
I don't think there's any household name like minor league pitching coordinators around baseball.
It's like when the Twins lost their catching coach. to the Yankees like 4 years back, who I think had helped Garver at the time or something. And so the Yankees came in and poached him. It's all these big teams with all the TV cash throwing it around to these coaches.
They've done, I will say, like they've done a good job. I mean, the Twins have really, the last 7 years, beefed up a lot of their just internal personnel and staff. And so there are some guys like, I mean, hell, Wes Phillips. Wes Phillips was regarded high enough to go get like one of the highest profile college coaching jobs.
Wes Johnson.
Right? Or Wes Johnson. Sorry. Wes Phillips is working on a legal situation right now.
Yeah, he's got his own. He's got problems, but it ain't. Yeah. He's the Georgia coach now, right?
Yep. That was exactly, I think, his path, right? Take a jump here and then move over to Georgia. So, I don't know. So we're still waiting on the Twins to make an actual roster move. As we update you every single episode, what's the transaction scoreboard? The outgoing players from last year's division championship Twins team that won a playoff series for the first time in 20 years. Sonny Gray outgoing, Kenta Maeda outgoing, Emilio Pagan outgoing, Michael A. Taylor free agent, Donovan Solano free agent, Joey Gallo free agent, probably addition by subtraction. Incoming?
Talk to me.
Nobody yet. They have not brought anyone in despite losing all those players. So still got 2 months until pitchers and catchers report in early to mid-February.
Smelling a trade. That's what I'm smelling. I'm smelling a trade coming down the pike.
Boy, do you think a trade happens? Usually front office is shut down for 2 weeks around the holidays. Like this would be like the last week usually of action. I think it's a January thing at this point, right?
I think we're going to get I think we're going to get something though. I think we're going to get something in January that is a name that's not Polanco or Kepler, but it's somebody that we're at least a little bit surprised.
I mean, even the Royals are going after like Giolito, Jack Flaherty, Michael Wacha, but like, can the Twins pick up the damn phone and do something here, please? I'm just asking as a fan. Can we get something to,
if you hadn't given
sink our
up
teeth into, for God's sake?
Season tickets, Declan, they'd have the cash too. But see what you did?
I haven't got an email in a while.
They gave up on you.
No, I think they sent one right either after the playoffs started or maybe right before. And again, the offer of like sit in my seats for game one if you like renew, for 2024. But now that I'm, in East Jesus nowhere, I don't think I'm going to be traveling to the ballpark for season tickets.
Wow. I hear people from Woodbury don't go to Twins games.
I don't know if they get season tickets.
Where did that phrase come from? East Jesus nowhere.
It's from Juno, the movie Juno.
Oh, I love that movie.
Which actually also has Minnesota ties.
Great movie.
Very underrated movie, yeah. Well, we'll get to an Immaculate Grid here that has the Twins on it and some interesting categories. Presented by our friends at Zero Res. Is your home ready for the holidays? Or is your home a complete mess? Is your carpet disgusting? Zero Res, with their 4.9 rating out of 5 on Google with 17,000 reviews, is here to help you deep clean your home before the holiday gatherings. If you call Zero Res today or go to zeroresminnesota.com, you can ask for the Score North special and get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $129. And this month, get $75 off when you get your air ducts cleaned. 952-ZERO-RES and zeroresminnesota.com. Spell it forward or backwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. All right, boys. So we have a very unique Immaculate Grid here in that we've got 2 statistical categories, one being an analytical category that we don't have most people don't have inherent knowledge of how many wins above replacement a player had.
You might.
But I actually do have some just because I used to live on Fangraphs for 5 years of my life as a baseball beat writer. But we can tell you that guys had 40 save seasons over the course of X amount. So we can get you the 300 save guys a lot easier than the wins above replacement. But here's what we're looking for. A Red who was a Nat or an Expo. A Red who had 300 career saves. And a Red who had a 6 wins above replacement season. A Twin who was a Nat or an Expo. A Twin with 300 career saves. And a Twin with a 6 WAR season or better. And then a Cardinal who was a Nat or an Expo, a Cardinal with 300 career saves, and a Cardinal who was a 6-win player in a season. For that WAR category, we're basically looking for players who were awesome in 1 year and probably played premium positions to be safe, like pitcher, shortstop, center field.
Has to be with that team in that season, correct?
Correct.
Yes. The saves don't have to all be with, like for the Twins, the Twins have had, Lee
like
Smith is one that, like, Lee Smith is the all-time saves guy. He played for the Cardinals, for instance.
Yeah, Jeff Reardon would count.
Reardon would count.
Gotcha.
Okay. Like Todd Jones was closing till he was 40. He played like 2 years with the Twins. Todd Jones was a Red as well.
Love it. Yeah.
So should we start with the Twins here? Twins.
Let's do it.
Judd, you pick the square. Where do you want to start?
Start Twins Expos.
Okay.
Not Nationals. I'm tired of Nationals. Come on. This is
Otis,
the Expos.
Otis Nixon?
Otis Nixon, Pete McCannon, who I guarantee you would be super low.
God.
Did we use him one time?
Yes. I think we might have used him as a Philly too, but he was a second baseman in a platoon with Rob Wilfong after Bobby Randall left. Very serviceable player. He'll be low.
Kurt Suzuki?
Yeah.
John Roush.
Roush, man.
And I'm pretty sure.
John Roush one.
I'm pretty sure Zach Duke works for all three of these team squares.
Nice.
Zach Duke pitched for so many teams.
Also,
he for sure was a Red and.
You know who else? Jose Morales, who was a catcher / DH.
Oh my God!
Played for the Expos. Not the one you're thinking of. One in the 70s.
The old school one.
The old one.
The old school Jose Morales.
The older we can go on some of these, the more.
The more McCannon's the one I'm certain is super low.
Tyler Clippard also, but he's probably going to be.
He's a little high. I think people Nationals know him. Yeah.
Would you? Pete McCannon. I can't fight that really. Denard Span, but he's going to be more recent.
Be higher.
Yeah. I think we're.
Orlando Cabrera was an Expo.
I think we definitely go with an Expo.
Is that it right there?
McCannon?
Yep. You got him. Yep, that's him.
Below. Under one. 0.2.
0.2.
Let's go.
That's confident. That's very confident. Okay.
Well, we just rattled off it's funny. The Twins actually have a ton of big save guys like Joe Nathan's top 10, top 15 all time.
Fernando Rodney.
He closed till he was 40.
Yeah.
We mentioned Todd Jones was a closer till he was about 40.
Yeah, there's a lot of good choices here. Who's the lowest, do you think? Who's not associated with the Twins? I mean, Fernando Rodney, not really associated with the Twins, but it wasn't that long ago.
The ones who pass through like that are always the best ones. So I would say of the ones we just named, I mean, Aguilera is old school enough, but he's probably going to be high among Twins fans.
Todd Jones would be good, right? I don't think
but
people
Todd Jones
does. Him.
But Todd Jones works with the Reds too, right?
Yeah, we should save that for Reds.
Gotcha. Yep.
So if we went Todd Jones Reds and Fernando Rodney
Twins,
do we put Todd Jones for Reds just to do it?
Let's try to think of other Reds options real quick.
Dibble,
Dibble,
Charlton, Randy Myers.
Oh my God!
Because the Nasty Boys all had to end up north of 300 saves, right?
I don't know, man.
That
was a brief flash of.
And then they all
for those
went
teams.
and became closers.
Did Norm Charlton closed for the Mariners for a while?
Yep. Randy Myers saved. He played for everybody, right? Because he played for the Cubs, he played for the Padres, he started, I think, in Cincinnati.
Okay, there's a name that could work real quick. Judd, I need your history perspective here. I remember him as a Met when I was a kid in the 90s, but I know he also was an Expo and a Red in like the late 80s. John Franco. John Franco was a closer. I don't know if he was more of a setup guy closer or what, but that dude pitched. That dude was like early 40s when he retired, right? I mean, he was pitching like in the 2000s.
He was a Red in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, and then eventually got dealt to the Mets. And he was from New York, so he became known more as a Met. I think Todd
Let's
Jones.
Go Todd Jones.
Let's not going to be a Red, right?
Let's go the mustache.
He's not going to be associated with the Reds.
Todd. Below. Under 5.
Yep.
0.8.
Yep.
0.8.
Yeah. He looks like a closer too.
That would leave Fernando Rodney, right?
Yes.
For the Twin.
Yep.
Okay. Let's do
9.
it.
It's going to be It's going to be tough. It's like Joe Nathan, like what, Reardon or Aguilera, and I think Twins fans probably know him more too. So
That's
Eddie
higher than I
Guardado
thought.
didn't get. No, he was like
I
a
don't
3-year
think so.
closer. He's not gonna do it.
you want to knock
Okay.
off the 6 WAR Twin?
So we're looking for big.
Yeah, talk to me.
The older school we can go here. I mean, we could also go like Walter Big Train Johnson, probably. You know, in the whatchamacallit days, Senators days.
Senators.
But the guys that popped into my head in terms of like if we go back a ways, big seasons. Chuck Knobloch in the 90s had a couple big seasons playing premium second base, middle infield.
Yep.
If you want to go back like any number of the Oliva, Blyleven, like go back Carew.
Jim Cott. So like what is does WAR include fielding by a pitcher?
Yes, it does.
Like Jim
but I
Cott
don't know
won
what percentage of your
Okay.
Jim Cott would be interesting. Although I remember Jim Cott being less of a peak greatness guy and more of like just a steady
Longevity.
good player
Oh,
over the
yeah.
years. Just to be clear, a 6 WAR season would be like the top 5 to 10 players in baseball every year. There's not
Okay.
that like the best players in
Gotcha.
baseball are Mike Trout at his best is like a 10 WAR player in a season. So how many Twins, Killebrew, even as a first baseman, Killebrew probably hit enough to have a 6 WAR season.
Okay.
I know
Mauer's MVP year for sure.
Yep.
WAR was never kind to Justin Morneau.
Because
He
he's
was
a
not a
first
high WAR
baseman
guy.
that wasn't an
No.
elite defensive first baseman. But
Yeah.
Mauer was a catcher, so he gets extra credit for value.
And people are probably picking that because they know Mauer.
Viola?
He was a Cy Young winner, right?
Yep.
What if,
That's a great one, actually.
you know, he like finished, he had a really good year and like, he was actually just a workhorse. Never. What about Radke?
He had a 20
Like-
wins. So it's funny. He had a 20 win season, but the pitcher wins have nothing to do with wins above replacement. But that season he was. If you compare him to like all the rest of the pitchers in baseball, he was one of the best pitchers in the league. It was a steroid
was.
year. It's interesting. In Viola, same thing, and he was
Johan would
one of the
work.
best pitchers.
88.
Johan would be for sure.
Tory?
Pull the
Center
trigger, Matt.
fielder,
6?
elite center fielder.
Pull the trigger. I trust you more on
Um,
this than I do myself, for sure.
All right.
I almost feel like we should go like the older school we can go,
Okay.
the less likely it'll be. And that's where, but I was going to say like Tony Oliva, because I feel like he's a kind of a forgotten Twin, but I kind of love the Frank Viola angle here. Frank Viola was one of the best pitchers in baseball for like 2 years with the Twins.
87, and then
Yep.
I think he came back and won the. He won the Cy in '88,
Yep.
but
Want to try Frankie? Sweet music?
Let's do it. Let's try Frankie. Come on. Frankie Viola. One time.
1%.
1%, dude. Okay, since we're on the WAR subject here, a guy that we've used on the Cardinals front, we've used him like 5 times he was a Cub, he was a Cardinal. Rogers Hornsby is a Hall of Famer from 100 years ago. I would say, again, like the older school, the Cardinals have guys like Jim Edmonds was a center fielder, Pujols, there's guys like that.
right.
But I would give you 2 old school Cardinals that were Hall of Famers. One was a pitcher, one was Rogers Hornsby. Dizzy Dean was the other one. He was a Hall of Famer
Yep.
from like way back in the day.
What
Those
about
guys,
Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie Smith was the greatest shortstop of all time. That'll get you WAR. That dude might have been a 6 WAR defensive player back in the
I know,
day. So,
I know.
but he's also the most popular Cardinal maybe of all time. Stan Musial, kind of the same thing. Like
Right.
Stan the Man.
Hornsby?
We've never failed with Rogers Hornsby on the grid.
Yeah, he was an unbelievable player. So,
Mm-hmm.
Raja.
Raja.
Yep. Look at that career.
3%.
3%.
Nice. All right.
We have
Uh,
five. Let's do 5 minutes on the clock here. By the way, Judd and I
Phil,
have to record a historical pie chart.
Yep.
The Reds are
we
filled
used
with these.
we used this guy for strikeouts. Remember Aaron Harang? He even led the league in strikeouts. Do you think he
For what? For the,
for the Reds 6 WAR?
oh,
He led the league in strikeouts. We've used him for like 200 strikeouts before with the Reds. In that season, do you think he got to 6 WAR?
I mean, he was really good. Yeah, he was. Another guy, yeah. In terms of position players, there's a few gimmies here that you like. Ray Lankford was an infielder. Like Barry, or I'm sorry, Lankford was a Cardinal. I'm wrong on that. Barry Larkin. I get Lankford and Larkin mixed up.
Oh.
Barry Larkin would have been a shortstop that probably.
And the old
qualifies
school
here.
Reds, like you got bench behind the plate. You got Tony Perez, Pete Rose, Joe Morgan,
Frank Robinson.
I don't think it's that.
Did you say him?
Yeah. Ooh, no, I didn't. That's an interesting one.
Well, Frank Robinson was a.
He was he was traded from the Reds to the Orioles, but I think he
played like half his career with the Reds,
and he had an MVP season there, right? Because I think he won MVPs in the National and American League. That's an interesting one.
It's old school.
Because I feel like bench is going to be really popular.
Another one, kind of like Viola, in like that Big Red Machine or the Nasty Boys era of Reds baseball. Jose Rio was one of the best pitchers in baseball for a very small handful of years. Okay. A flash of greatness for like 3 years. Might have won a Cy as well.
Tom Seaver was a Red. But that's, again, I would rely on you to know what the WAR of like a guy. I mean, I'm sure it's high for his career, but I don't know.
Yeah, we're kind of fishing without a GPS on the WAR stuff. But in general, if you pick players that were among the best for at least a season, like you're pretty safe with 6 WAR, which is why they set the bar at 6 WAR.
Gotcha.
So I would go. Let's go old school. Let's pick an old school guy. You just named a bunch of them.
Do you want to go Frank? If you're pretty sure Frank, I think Frank Robinson will, like, I feel like the ones I named are going to be pretty popular.
Joe Morgan?
Bench, Rose, Morgan. I feel like those names are probably going to be more on the tip of the tongue of fans than Frank Robinson.
I would say either Frank Robinson or gamble on Jose Rio. I've wanted to use him. We just haven't found the right. Actually, I think we tried to use him one time with like 200 strikeouts, and he was like 190 something. But Frank Robinson.
All right, let's pull the
Frank
trigger.
the Tank.
Yeah, he's
3%.
3%.
Oh, nice. Good job. Good job. I feel like bench. Yeah.
Okay, I have one for the top left. There was a trade. The Austin Kearns trade from 2006 affected greatly my fantasy baseball team that I've told you guys about for a long time, where we have 33-man rosters and 16 guys in the league.
Yeah, thanks for telling us.
And in that trade, so that was a trade between the Reds and the Nationals. It was like an 8-player trade. And so Austin Kearns would work because he was the centerpiece of that trade. But there was also a reliever named Bill Bray that was involved in that trade. Bill Bray, Felipe Lopez, and I can't remember the other. But it was like Kearns and 3 relievers were involved, and Bill Bray was one of the relievers involved in that trade.
There's no way I can.
Don't ask me why or how I remember that.
Pete Rose ain't gonna beat that because Pete was an expert.
This is the top left square for the Nats and the.
Yep.
Billy Bray.
It's
That'll
gonna
be a low one for sure.
0.3.
0.3.
How do you remember? I don't remember Billy Bray's name, much less who he played for.
It's funny what sticks and what doesn't.
I'm gonna use Zach Duke for basically the same reasons Phil just has. That I have an encyclopedia of Zach Duke stats.
Sure.
0.2.
0.2.
Oh, that's nice, you guys.
Relievers are key.
For 300 career save Cardinals, there's 2 that pop into my mind. Lee Smith is the obvious one, and then Jason Isringhausen was also a longtime closer.
Is there anyone else pass through the bullpen?
Yeah, like is there like a Goose Gossage or like an Eckersley that like was there a stop?
Or Bruce Sutter and Raleigh Fingers were on the team at the same time, and Fingers got moved immediately to the Brewers. Bruce Sutter closed for the Cardinals for a long time, and he's a Hall of Famer, but I feel like he'll be pretty popular too, to be honest. And Fingers never played for the Cardinals. He was only with them transactionally.
Well, Declan mentions Dennis Eckersley's name, and Dennis Eckersley did finish his career with the Cardinals in the 90s.
Did he?
Okay.
Yeah, he was there with...
Oh, then let's go with him.
He was there, I believe, Mark McGuire's first year.
No one's going to remember. That's a good one. If that's... I forgot that. That's a great one.
I figure there's always like bounces like that.
There are, yeah.
Okay. And he
It's gonna
pitched,
be
good
low.
Lord. Yeah, that's a lot of years.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's gonna be great starter to start his career.
Oh, he did it.
Nice.
That
What
was
was it?
13. He was actually the highest
Oh my God.
of our squares.
Yeah.
I'm
That tells you how many. Go down and see how many closers are there even. Okay, so there's literally
6 and
6,
5.
5, and 8. So
Yeah.
you're not going to go too
How
low.
much Bruce Sutter was? So that was 13%.
Yep, for Eckersley.
Gotcha.
31% for the rarity score on the grid itself. So there you go.
Nice work.
If you guys can find the audience more obscure Twins options for some of these, let us know. We always like to see the obscure ones. We'll do a random twin of the week later this week. It's Judd's turn to throw out the random twin, so we'll do that sometime, probably like Thursday or Friday.
It's ready to go. It's ready to go, and it's going to be difficult.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're with you all off season here on the Score North Twin Show. So thank you guys for finding us on this podcast. If you could help spread the word by giving us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, that'll go a long way, as we just brought this show back in July after a couple-year hiatus. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time on the Score North Twin Show.